The member for Dawson.
Well, thank you very much, Mr Speaker, and I rise tonight to highlight a major problem inhibiting job creation in North Queensland and also to propose a solution. The Australian Conservation Foundation this week lodged a new court challenge to the approval of the Carmichael mine in northwestern Queensland. Now, they have two arguments they're running. Both of them are vexatious. Firstly, they're arguing that the Minister for the Environment failed to take into account a submission by the black-throated finch recovery team in the approval process. And secondly, they're arguing that the Minister for the Environment failed to consider whether the impact of climate pollution resulting from burning the coal that will come from the mine would be inconsistent with Australia's international obligations to protect the World Heritage Great Barrier Reef. Well, these are not genuine arguments. They're just a means to frustrate and delay the project in the hope that its opponent, Adani, will walk away, taking jobs and prosperity to another country. Well, this government, the Turnbull government, the Liberal National government, wants to see those jobs created in Australia. We would rather see the mines and jobs here in Australia than in another country where the environment does not have strong protections or where exploited labour works on those mines without proper health and safety provisions. In Australia, we actually care about species like the black-throated finch, and I've got to say it was identified and provided for in the conditions that are attached to the Minister's approval for the mine, where the applicant is required to secure more than 30,000 hectares of land specifically for the black-throated finch. Now, the Australian Conservation Foundation's second argument is not only vexatious, it's also self-defeating. If the extreme Greens insist that the Minister for Environment consider the impact of this approval based on what an energy company in India may or may not do with the coal, then they are shooting themselves in the foot. If the approval is given and it is coal from the Carmichael mine, then the Greens must prove that the emissions from that coal being burnt is going to impact the reef. But if the approval isn't given, or if it's overturned by the court, and it's coal that comes from another country that's burnt, then the Greens will have to prove that even more emissions will not impact upon the reef. And I say that because the demand in India is there, the coal is going to come from somewhere, it will be burnt in India, and if it's foreign coal, it's going to have a higher ash content and therefore most likely lead to more carbon dioxide emissions. So the Greens can't argue that black is white and black at the same time. I can assure them India will import coal from somewhere to create the electricity needed to bring 100 million people out of energy poverty. Last week I visited one of those very power generators. It's located a few minutes' drive from the largest coal importing terminal in the world in Mundra on the northwest coast of India. It's built right next to a port because it requires 16 million tonnes of imported coal. That's about 100 shiploads of coal per year to operate. And right next to that generator is another generator requiring exactly the same amount of coal. And there will be at least 2 more of these generators to come, as India needs to provide a further 4.5 gigawatt hours of electricity in the next 5 years. Right now they are delivering that coal from Indonesia. When the Carmichael mine goes into operation, it will be higher quality coal and fewer emissions generated, and it will go directly into those power plants. The Greens consistently argue in this place that more emissions are bad for the environment. So unless they're complete hypocrites, they should be sending congratulatory wreaths of paspalum and hemp and dandelions to the Minister for Environment for actually approving this mine. And I expect to see that members of the Labor Party would give the Minister also congratulations for creating industry, generating jobs and economic growth and backing local workers, which brings me to the solution. I believe it's time to cut through all of this nonsense, stop having them use the environment to hold this project to ransom. We need to ensure that the legal processes of delay are pushed out of the way by these, the legal processes that are driven by these anti-democracy, anti-capitalism, anti-everything movement. Now, I've told the Prime Minister it's time we legislated that this project, the Carmichael Coal Project, be protected from vexatious legal claims so we can get on with the job of creating jobs. It's time also that Labor heeded the actions of their Queensland counterparts, where the Labor government in that state called in a local government application for a solar farm when the initial approval was challenged in the Land Court. Now, they declared in the development of that solar farm that they were going to call it in because it would provide a significant economic investment. What would this mine do?
Order.
10,000 jobs.
Order.